me, Josh?
I can.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear me?
We're out of time.
I can't hear you. We must have lost you again.
So all I was going to say, if you can hear me,
Okay, I can.
is that I appreciate the complete revisiting of the graphics of this presentation, from the way you organize the material in terms of hierarchical organization of the plans with the key plans for structure, life safety, and so on. I appreciate how sophisticated those graphics on those plans look and how clear everything was. So from just that perspective alone, this is a much improved and I think a much more legible presentation. And I hope this is actually not just a compliment about the graphics, it's about how you are clearly, or you are evidencing how clearly you are thinking about this building. So I think that's why it's such a strong, strong presentation. So I'm still waiting for everyone else to get back in. Ash, can you hear me okay?
I do. I just want to enjoy your
That's okay. That's okay. So during your presentation, Josh, my computer froze and turned off, and I had to restart, and I had to relog into the whole network. So your talk is not going to be found, I don't think. So I apologize for that. I'm at Lawrence Tech, and I'm having all these issues tonight. In my office at home, we'd have Eagles, the beer, and you, and it would have been perfect. So unfortunately, that's not going to be the case tonight. So so we need to move on. Rasha, you're next. So we need to close this. Rasha's. Can I pass it? Where are you, Rasha? You're the first one. Okay, so let me go to you. I think I have to mute.
Yeah, I'll unmute my volume.
Okay, so let me just set up the clock, and I'm going to give you the mic. Okay, mic. Okay.
Okay, can everyone hear me okay?
Yep.
Cool. All right, so if you guys open up my presentation here. On the first plate we have are some inspiration pictures while designing this. So we have some interior courtyards, some storefront, healthy eateries, and reception spaces. And yeah, that's my first plate. The second plate here, we have the site plan, and you can see there's John R. Alfred and the alley. How the blue spaces, the blue areas, which are scattered. So again, similar to how Paige was talking, having a flat facade, I was going for a similar concept, so it's not just all one plane. And also my my next step into continuing my installing, having a green roof and solar panels, but that's just the next step further. Then we basement, which is a third one, and so wonky my basement plan, and it's due to my structure, which we'll talk about in a little bit later. But you can see here how in the basement, and then on the ground floor I have 6 spaces, 47 spaces. And then we get to the floor plan level 1, and an interior courtyard with some surface parking. I was really interested in linking how I have that open courtyard, and it links from Alfred Street into the alley, and with the car with the vehicle circulation, where it went from the same thing from Alfred Street all the way through into the alley. So it's a one-way parking, nearly from the other side. And so again, I was really links and how, for example, also the exercise room have a place to hide. And so this space is the link from isn't directly open into either of the streets, but smaller pathways. And then we get into you can see how I laid the overall furniture plan, and then we'll get into the floor plans. We'll see in a couple and a little bit later, and you can see how they're more laid out. We have plate number 3, which is very similar to 2. Level 4, it's the same thing, but however, on the bottom, we have a community space, which is open to above. So it's a double ceiling height. And then level 5, it's 4, but instead of opening to above, it's open to below. So you can see the community space. And then we have on plate number 9, there's some enlarged floor plans. So you can see some of the spaces. So we have a 2-bedroom and then with a flex space. And technically also the flex space, I have them here as offices, but you can also have them have a couch or if someone's sleeping over, that kind of stuff. And then we have on plate number 10, 11, 13, some elevations that I quickly have on here. And please be aware that 13, there are operable windows on that. They're just not modeled currently. So the people that are on the west facade do have light coming into their spaces. So here, and then 14 and 15, and also there's there's these sails on the ground level. So I was interested in creating some sort of parking on the ground level. I'm still working on what that may look like, but right now I have mass sails. So just as an example. And again, you can see how the terraces are pushing outwards and inwards. They're not on the same plane. And then number 16 is some quick renderings. So I tried making this as accurate as I possibly could. I'm interested, and we'll talk about more about my enclosure in a little bit, but I am interested in using the Shilden terracotta rain screen. So I was trying to make that as closely as I could for the rendering to get it. It's not 100% how I would like it to show, but again, this is a quick. And then on my structural system, so I am using. It's Carmen. Okay. So yeah, I'm using the lab. Yeah.
Oh. I don't know. She's.
Yeah, and it keeps coming up my. Okay. 4. Yes. So structural system. So it's a flat plate slab with 8 and 16 by 16 inch columns, and then you can see the 4 columns in the middle are only for the basement. So it is a yard that's going through the middle, the middle of the building. And this is why my parking plan is a little bit, not very clean, because the that are there, and I can't span more than 30 feet because of the, yeah. And again, this is a structural system. So that one was for the basement, and then the structural system for a typical floor plan with the columns in the flat plate slab, and there are no columns in the. So we come to the building on 20 and 21. Again, so just to make this clear, all the top of 21, those are from. I wasn't able to have a complete construction wall section, construction detail wall section. I am interested in using a terracotta again with 3 different color variations, terracotta beige, and having those be applied to my facade. And then just showing how the rain screen attaches in front with the different details. And again, I have to actually have this be incorporated into my own system, but this gives you an idea of what I'm looking at. And I started to the wall construction at the bottom left-hand corner of what it could be. So with the air barriers and the terracotta rain screen, but again, it's still very preliminary. Shows how you would replace the different panels. These panels can actually span up to 10 feet. And I was looking at a 10 feet by a 2-foot inch panels on my system. We next get into on plate number 22, the HVAC zoning. So I did the HVAC zoning for the HVAC zoning for the typical residential units. So I didn't. So for 3, what you can see is I also added the shaft circulation. But on 22 I did not, because I actually need to go back and talk to Ed. I realized my mechanical have to change the shafts if they go up and down because of the lengths of the courtyards. So I have to go back and talk to Ash about that. But you can see it on how the shaft circulation would be. On the last plate, 24, we have ADA HD. So I just did a few of the egress, the egress, the main core, and then the egress stairs. So yeah, you have the floor. I will shut off my mic.
Okay, so now you can talk.
Me?
Yes.
Me first?
Yes.
Okay. Just a few things that I noticed on 24. You have this very, very long corridor, and I'm a little bit concerned that you need an additional door, or maybe you just need to do directly from the office and not have that corridor at all if you're trying to go back and as opposed to having that long. I think you're creating more problems by having that long corridor. Same on the retail at the top. More necessary on the one that you have on the far left, but again, I think that's just extra space that your building owner is going to have to pay for, and they'll have to heat it and cool it, and can't be absorbed in spaces. So for egress purposes, I think it might be one of those. I was a little bit confused about your stair that you're showing on the bottom middle. First of all, I don't know if you have enough separation to stairs all together to be the complete opposite. There's a range that it can be in. It looks close to me. And then I don't know how you safely egress off the side. Like you might have to, the distance it takes to get from inside the courtyard of your building to actually outside of your building. And the door is going into the stair. If this is the bottom level or the level you can egress, it probably needs to go in the direction. And then you'll need some, I think your landing on the left side might also need to be a little bit bigger.
Those are good points.
You have some requirements up the level. If you have access to that on the bottom level, I don't remember if you do on your parking. below, but there's only so many people you can take up, and you have to have a countdown and then out. So if all that works or not. I don't mind your parking configuration. It makes sense for the cars that you have.
But the parking plan, the stairs, for instance, don't, like we spoke with Paige, they don't have doors. So it's hard to know where, it's hard to know how you're thinking of the stairs. Some indication that there's doors, there's some indication of what you're thinking when you look at the ground floor plan. But then we see that the doors are swinging in the wrong direction. There's no plan. So I just want to make sure that what's happening on the ground floor, you're exiting, it says meter room. That's really important. You see that? You see that? There is that white L reads meter room. And I don't know if that.
Oh, there's that room next to the elevator.
Yeah, leader to that.
There is. It's just not shown.
It's not showing.
Yeah, if you zoom in, you can see it, but it's just when it's.
Yeah. But I mean, again, maybe you don't need that corridor at all. You're just making more spaces for people to get stuck in.
It is also wonky that you're exiting into the drive aisle.
Mm-hmm.
So you need some sort of walk, I think, a concrete walk that lets you make your way out to Alfred Street with a walk or down to the alley with a walk.
And some of your structural grids, I think, are playing into some of your decisions. And that's why, I mean, I think stairway, but because you knew that you had to get cars and then you knew you had that column grid at line C, you automatically put your, so it's just like a little bit of a non-safe space. What are my comments on the main level? Mostly to do with egress of where your cars and traffic is going. Yeah, I have a little bit of a hard time seeing where actually cars come in and exit the garage or the parking deck, whatever you call it. Again, I still over to the bottom or closer to the outside of the building. I don't know if there's time for that. I like your use of materials on the building. At the fire alarm system, the door's open too long. We should be exiting.
This is a ridiculous room. So I'm going to pause it for a second, Ash.
That's weird.
It's a thermostat.
So the lights pull it out.
The place is gonna blow up.
No, it's not. Actually, it's a panel. Does it have a panel there?
Yes.
It's an alarm.
It's an alarm?
Yeah,
Are the cops being called?
probably.
Why is there an alarm? I haven't seen?
I'm confused. I don't know now.
Totally don't have in our office. The police are coming.
Are you serious? Or are you just,
No, I'm kind of being serious. There's like a 90% chance, right?
well, maybe you should call security and tell them to shut that off.
Yeah, they'll.
Yeah, but it's 59. That guy's like Barney Fife. Well, one bullet.
One bullet. I love Barney. He's great.
Acoustics. There you go.
That is so crazy that they hit that up there like that. Thanks, Mark. We're here after a couple hours or something.
You're here, so you know what's going on and why we stopped presenting. I know, it was like, we should probably, yeah.
I don't know what to do.
I don't know if I can get into the other room over there.
I can.
No, we can go.
The next one?
I don't know if there's a class in there right now.
No, there isn't. We can go.
This
on.
We're gonna have to go there. Yeah, thanks. So I don't know if you can hear me, everyone, but we're going to move to another classroom, hopefully the sessions, and give us about 5 minutes.
Yeah, the Denso Computer Lab is available.
Where's that? 2 doors? Let's go there. Thank you, Michael.
How does it work? I go home.
بيغيروا البتاع فيه زي بتاع حريق ضرب البتاع جت زباله واحده حمراء تنجح ده بيقدمها لي والدكتور راغب ايه الباك جراوند بتاعتك؟
Thanks.
Do that in the house. Oh my
Like screen sharing. Well, they're dealing with their alarm situation. I guess.
علاقتك ايه بالمتهم؟
No.
علاقتك بس
Because of my phone.
علاقتك ايه بالمتهم؟ علاقة عادل ادهم عسل عسل
I think Ash is yelling at his kids. Is that what that is?
I mean, even this was cool compared to.
Yeah, well,
that.
yeah.
I mean, this is a good start, but that's not where you should be. Right. You should 3 weeks later. Yeah.
I think, Lindsay, you can.
I don't know how long
Did it come off?
well, I think
I mean, she's got like this thing going on.
Right.
She doesn't have none of that now.
Yeah, but you get like all of it. I'm putting no trigger and stuff.
Are you ready? Are you ready?
Yeah.
You guys still got 9 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But are you ready? Okay, so you can come on over here.
Yeah.
I didn't know we got a Mac lab here. Okay. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Pretty cool when it was working.
Yeah, obviously we do have a problem with the network, Mark. The sound is very bad. That's
Really?
not, not your fault. It's probably the LTU network. That's sucks.
I don't know what's happening here because we had a security alert in T220.
Yeah,
Everyone's losing some depth to it.
I love when technology fails.
I even commented on that before. I
Right.
like rotating
I know what it is.
wall thing is cool. Yeah.
So we're back, and I'm assuming that everyone else is with us. I'm going to let Lindsay carry on with the discussion, but I'll just say one thing, sort of in finishing the earlier remarks. With Rasha, the stairways really kind of need the doorways in them to show how we actually exit. So I would tighten up the drawings from that. And I definitely the solution that you come up with, Rasha, where you interlace the parking with the courtyard. Small issue with entering the parking field, Alfred. I'd kind of like to see you revisit that. I think it may impact the courtyard in terms of the yield of parking, yield of the courtyard. I would try to resist that. I would try to resist driving through the middle of the site, given that you only need a few spaces and you even find a way to satisfy the parking situation with the courtyard and the alley and not introduce another problem.
When I hear bump your retail towards your interior and provide like a covered parking kind of area, maybe.
Yeah, the site is independent because we have a residential lot to the west, Lindsay. We have two historic streets on the north and east to the south, and the alley should be able to serve parking, the underground parking sort of speed ramp. I think you'll see schemes today where there is still a lot of architecture. Rasha has been able to be fairly efficient, you know, with the way she displays volume and space on the first floor. It's too pervious. It's not pervious. It's not too pervious from the perspective of connect to the city, but I think too pervious from the perspective of privileging the car so much. That's maybe the only concern I have about that. I would also show. I would only show. Those are way too big.
And there's one of your bathrooms is quite large as well.
Yeah, we've talked about the bathrooms. I don't know what you're doing in those bathrooms, ladies and gentlemen, but the Thanksgiving, right, in the one bathroom, I think. So I would try to smart size those. Quite honestly, it's the bedroom. What you've taken is 3/8, 5/8 cell is the bathroom, which is just as big as the bedrooms. Anyway.
Yeah. And
Ash, did you want to go over anything?
Actually, I'm screen sharing now. I understand, Rasha, that these difficulties in your garage is due to the sort of a strict, I would say, if you want to use a flat plate, that's the efficient range is between 7 to 9 meters, which is around 27 to 23 to 30 feet, or exactly 29.5 feet. So I understand your pain here. However, you managed to have a very nice looking building. I would love to live in one of these if I'm living by the Nile. That's wonderful views here. So you solved this very well. I wished you could have elaborated more on the terracotta. You need to show me the drainage of these horizontals, and I can see here that that's the right one. That's a steel stud. I'm not sure if you're gonna decide on putting a batt insulation inside. That's your rigid insulation, around 2 inches. That's correct. I love the color scheme very much, but I would love also to see it on your 2D elevations here, right? I think this make up a good project. I don't have any problems with the cantilevers as long as it's a concrete. Well, slightly weird a little bit in Michigan because, you know, snow, all this kind of stuff, but absolutely gorgeous seating view and time starting April to September, October or something. The HVAC is, I'm not sure how you're gonna bring the duct from this mechanical room. I don't see any spacing here. Probably you gotta find another place for your meter rooms. Zoning at the end, you did do one zone for exercise room. You have kind of too many here. Like 4 VAV boxes for each zone. It's kind of hefty, okay? So I would love if you can reduce the zones here in the first floor. These, again, 4 zones is still too much. Russia, I would do 2 Ls here, okay? One is this one, and the other one is this one, probably. So north and east, south and west, that's the best orientation. And what else? Just wish to have more of a wall section to discuss the code and ASHRAE on it. Your structural plan, I'm not sure if these are beams or there is no beams here in the flat plate, okay? So I'm not sure what these lines represent in between your simply have columns and outline of your slab. I hope you can put some thicknesses if possible. And nice 3D graphics. Thank you.
Rasha, do you want to talk about structural slab drawings? You want to clarify that for us?
Yeah, I'm just. So yeah, there are no beams. It's just flat, because I was doing research on the flat plate slab. So because I didn't know if like it was an embedded beam or there was just like it was just no beam at all. So when I was researching, there's no column. Why this slab this thick instead of a thinner slab.
So I've not used the word flat plate slab before. Is that a post-tensioned?
No, it's let me clarify this. It's not. It's a site in-cast, on-site cast concrete mark with 8 inches. This is it has no beams, just compensating for the beam. If you have really sort of a regular squarish base of concrete, this will make your life I mean your structural engineer life is easy. It should have sort of or not sort of square columns or circular columns, because rectangular are not, you know, because of moment of inertia on both sides, lateral forces, stuff like that. So they act like diaphragms for your floor slab.
Do the columns have mushroom?
No, that's okay. There is difference between flat slab, which is the one that you're talking about, the mushroom or the plates around the column to resist punching forces, and the flat plate, which is just one plate thicker than flat slab. So there is 2 systems here, flat slab and flat plate slab. So she's using here flat plate slab. This is why she was restricted. However, any structural engineer, Russia, will ask you, okay, for the first floor, or the ground, the roof or the ceiling of your garage to be done as beam and column. Okay, that's for more of a fixed moment analogy with the steel, kind of a connection. So you do have more rigidity for your building. So you will be asked to have a beam and regular slab in your first floor, on the garage floor. Other than that, I would love, Rasha, to see a 3D of the slab, kind of an inspirational photo like what you did with the terracotta. This is very, very helpful to our final jurors' explanation, to explain the concept and, you know, show what you're trying to say here, not just a structural plan like this. So it's better to have more of a like 3D sections in a couple of inspirational photos like what you did with your terracotta.
So for my basement, because we talked about this, and I recall in the basement as an embedded beam, so you don't actually see it. So it's within the floor, the concrete.
Well, I know that beams bother us a lot, but if it, you know, if it doesn't, again, I would. This is a structural issue, so don't worry about it. I'm just telling you, because I see here the progress, Rasha, in transferring like a good design of some sort. Again, I'm having some, you know, issues with these wide balconies. It's more luxurious for Detroit, but I'm so happy to see the development of the design with these systems in mind, especially a structure and enclosure. This is really what we are looking for. When I see you maturing like this, that's it makes me very happy. Like I deliver the message. Don't worry about the basement floor, but I'm telling you, you will end up with having just a regular beam and slab here, which you don't have any problem with. Okay. So because you don't have, you have a very nice structural plan here, base, almost squarish, less than 30. That's a heaven here. So.
Okay. I'm just a little going on as to how to actually, you know, actually show it in my plan, like have my structural system be clear.
We can do this together. Don't worry about it. We can do the. You mean the structural floor plan here? For this floor?
Yeah, and like, yeah, but for that floor and the residential floor, I just want to make sure that the jury
No, residential floor is good. Okay, just show the columns. No beams here. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
And add some explanation, 3Ds, axonometrics, or whatever for this construction type, and make it clear that this is a flat plate slab. This is you just need to add some illustrative not photos here for kind of analogy or an inspirational concerns. The first one we can do it together. That's fine. That's an easy task.
Okay. Yeah, because I was researching it, a lot of pictures end up showing what you were talking. I wasn't just looking for so I might end up having just to make it myself, so it's not, because I think what's more popular is the mushroom cap as opposed to the flat.
No, the flat. Yeah, flat plate is different from the mushroom cap. Embedded. There are too many. Okay, there is waffle slab. There is flat slab with the mushroom cap. There is flat plate. There is what we call ribbed hollow block / ribbed slab, which does take some sort of a very light blocks to save on the concrete. So too many of them, but that's legitimate system and works very well here with these regular span spaces or span distances.
Thanks, everyone. We have to go on. We're running behind now, so I'd like to move on to Michael, and I'm not seeing Andrew here, so I'm going to invite him. And let's close Andrew. Let's go to Michael. Okay, Michael, we're ready when you.
Okay. Can you all hear me? Yeah. Project. The first 4 pages are I had these round hollow concrete floor that went through to each side with openings on each side, and they was having trouble with the structural system. So, and the most recent change I made in combining the 4 separate concrete structures into 2. And so currently my structural system in these plans is not quite right, but the point right now where it will allow me to make the structural system a lot easier. So first elevation, this is non-R, so you're looking towards Woodward right now. The top 4 floors are all of one construction, a combination of kind of the bottom is where all the retail and the other spaces come in. So it's created different and you can see that through all 4 of the elevations. If we go on to the floor plans here, floor plans very open, flexibility of space. I need to adjust my staircases since I made some changes to the upper floors. Not going to work for egress. If we go to the first floor plan, or the second.
Mike, could you please indicate the number of the page when you talk?
On each side.
I can follow up with you, page.
On the exterior of these rooms, very large atrium that you enter through. It would essentially be the front door to the apartments, and creates more of a community feel. So my current plan going forward is to take these 2 and bump them out to the outside of these units, and then this hall will be completely erased. It'll be replaced with one wall that in section will be vertical and support. If we move on to the sections here, the first sections, you can see more space that I'm talking about. So you can see 8 units in the section, hallway in the middle of all of them, and then on each side is an atrium space. So per no matter what floor you're on, you have access to an atrium space that's not only shared with everyone on the floor, but also everyone on the floor, either directly above or below you. The structural system now becomes a lot simpler. Columns that create the exterior facade, where you can see this large revolving door. I don't know about that. It was just a thought, but it gives you the opportunity to create a balcony space, this atrium space that's all shared. I guess it's not a mezzanine because it's not a half level, but the interior balcony, I suppose you would call it, inside of this curtain wall. And then columns line up directly with the walls on the first floor. And so all of the load from that would be transferred and then eventually into the finish the structural system. But it's all a very square grid. So even though it's not fully worked out, it shouldn't take too long to do. And then there will probably have to be a column in the middle once the hallway. Moving on to the next section here. This is a section through that hallway. I believe. No, this is a section through the rooms facing east. So it's a right, yeah, section facing east. So your hangs on each side, but they're not incredibly long, so they're going to be cantilevered. Entrance to the left. And you can see it would be a structural system. If you go to the first floor plan structural system, or rather that which would be second floor plan, relatively simple grid system. Here I only have the grid, but there would be a at least another girder with a row of columns running directly through the middle, and columns at the buried into these walls of each of these columns. Is a quick in what this atrium space could look like. You can see on the right all of the rooms. So you come in, you have space to get to your room, and it also opens a sense of community. And since we're building for baby boomers, are most likely going to be coming from home. The thing you often miss in an apartment is the to have a neighborhood, to have a community. You get these tiny homes that they're doing for homeless people. They aren't putting kitchens in because they're making community kitchens, so interact. And with this forcing you to interact, you get this very nice space, this double height space the second you walk out of your room. Lounge there, you can go up to the window, enjoy the sun, go up to the bean. And so a way of re-envisioning the hallway. You know, I've lived at 4 apartment buildings in my life. I've seen one where the hallway wasn't just a box running through the building, and it's always the last place to spend money, because as long as the rooms look nice, you travel as fast as you can through the hallway, and so you have this open volume to the other side on each end on the first floor. You can see that from the first floor plan. Access to both sides. On the second floor plan, it goes straight into the but this atrium space essentially this atrium space completely surrounds all of the units, and so it's kind of like a house. In the final image, the view from the south. This is directly looking north at the building. Mm.
You want to go first?
Wait, let me mute.
Okay.
Say, I think you already noted some of your items about your stairways and where they need to be. I think one thing that you mentioned when you were talking to us is about this connection on the first floor, but you're showing something like very opaque in your rendering. I feel like you're going to have that same scenario you were trying to avoid of going down a corridor that, you know, maybe goes somewhere, maybe doesn't go somewhere. You're connecting to ambiguous spaces. You do kind of realign to that center wall. And then you have these balconies that connect. You end up with, I believe, 12 families. Kind of a neighborhood to have, I think, 6 residences on one, 6 on the next level. You can't get to the other side at that point. So you're many neighborhoods in your own building, which is kind of neat. I would consider, I did like how you talked about who your tenants actually were and their interaction in the space. I'd love to see people and everyone's renderings, and just so you start thinking about how you're moving through the space. And then the other thing I did want to consider, though, it was easy to tell that you're like what materials you're using, but the first thing I saw when I saw your rendering was the floor is hard. I am a senior citizen, maybe going up in age. The first thing I'm like, am I ever going to fall down on that surface? I'm going to spill my drink on that surface. Like, there's a lot of like, I want to think. I really like the architecture of the upper portion of the building. I'm not sure that it speaks as well. A little bit in conflict with the 4 stories above. I do like that you have a north and south facing main facade. I think that's good for light and your residents there as well. The other thing I was going to mention, if you do go down and put that one large wall, I think you're going to actually end up pointing this out to 4 stairs, right? Because you're going to have you're creating a separation, so you have one side of your building that the other people can get to. And you're always going to be 2 means of egress, most likely in a building like this, so that causes on your floor plan.
Is that like overly expensive to have? I like stairs.
Are you, so here's the other thing complicated. It depends on the way that they're constructed. For every stair core you add, yes, you're going to have, right? Because they have to be going in your building. That would be like classified as a grand staircase. It doesn't get to count as egress or a way of getting out of the building feature. It doesn't count into that. have an open stairway like that, you have to do other provisions, such as a movable curtain wall or some kind of fire shutter or something, and they get very typically do like enclosed ways. So you are looking at, I would say, a lot of expense in stairs and stair construction.
Ash, do you want to weigh in?
Actually, I love the idea, but it's still kind of a premature here, Mark. So, what's
Hey,
your
Ash, would you like to weigh in?
you hear me? Let me just a second here. Oh, do you hear me, Mark? Do you hear me? Do you hear me, Mark? Everybody hears me?
I can hear you.
Everybody hears me?
I can hear you. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think it makes to me a good architecture here, Mike. What you're trying to do. I don't know why you kind of drifted from this nice flat arc thing into segmental, semicircular. So this looked to me like a completely different project. While if you had kept this nice flat arc, kind of a repetition to this, that would be a wonderful, wonderful elevation. Again, that's elevation only. Same thing here. If you had kept these flat arcs here, that would make more sense. And instead of going completely different, using completely different vocabulary here. Again, I'm not commenting on the design and the bosses here, but it's really very ambiguous to me what your structural system is. So what do you want to use here? A precast or a site cast or what?
I was thinking site cast.
Site cast. So I need a module here, Mark, in order to and if you use site cast, what kind? If is it a simple beam and column, slab? I don't see this here. This is very ambiguous, and I don't see it here either. Still some beams here from this floor to this floor, while there is no beam for the garage and no beams up here. I know that this might be, to hold this nice box that you have of residential, but it's still very premature to me. The system that you're trying to use here. Same like Caitlin's comments here on these terraces. It's nice to have community. I'm highly concerned about the privacy here. So this require you to have certain type of glass to prevent, these people from, peeking in here. So this will simply reduce probably your amount of glazing in order to achieve this privacy. I would have loved to have the units going all the way to these nice flat arcs, and instead of having these kind of terraces inside. Still, I need more information in order to judge your HVAC. It hasn't, you haven't considered any of this here. I don't see any concept of your HVAC, so that's simply 0 today. The enclosure as well. I needed to see how you achieved the code, ASHRAE 90.1 2013. Here, like your other peers here, they at least tried to even showed some conceptual sections. At least they know what's going on. I don't know how you're gonna do this here with all of this glass. It does need probably a COM check or res check, because that's absolutely more than 50% of the facade area made of glass. So this is very, very tricky as well here. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Ash. Okay, so I'm looking at all of this, Michael. Wish that what we were seeing today was something that you had for benchmark one. You were one with this package. I think we could have addressed some of these issues that Lindsay's you know, duplicative elevators and that sort of thing, and maybe approached the overall sort of party or of the idea of the unit block in a much simpler way, and you could have been propelled forward to continue the work. I'm looking at some sketches that I just drew, for example, and if like we were working in an office together, and the developer said, care how much more the stairway costs, or they're gonna buy anything more than what I need, right? Why would I buy more stairs than I need? And they don't promote, for instance, community. I think what I'm hearing is that not only would I need more stairs just because I've got these grand stairs, or what was the word?
I think it's called Grand Stairway.
Yeah, grand stairway. They're like they're just kind of like a social stair, right? Yeah. Like, you know, you're too young to remember Loretta Young, a stairway, or she'd walk through a doorway and right? Sort of like Garnier's Opera House. The stairs were meant for people to see and be seen. And so I love that idea. And your talk today talked the most about that conversation, right, between community and privacy. And I thought that was really kind of interesting. But there's really no real workable strategy of how we evacuate the building in a fire event, because there aren't really enclosed stairways, which, you know, we've talked about with you and team members here. And Michael, you'd need an egress stair at one end, the north end, and an egress stair at the south end. And that's on the west atrium. You'd need the same thing on the east end, or east side, which would be your John R. side. And that's why I counted for, and you'd need two communicating stairways. That idea, right, about, well, he's got two minimum, but he's got
floors 1 and 2 and on the sides.
And then you haven't even done the arithmetic. I haven't even took out. I was going to get to the elevators too. So like how could like I know we're just what are you doing?
Kind of throw out maybe
So
a solution.
well, the solution I think is this.
Or the ones where the buildings move to the outside.
Right. Well, right where you do the stairs at each end, units face the atrium, and then the units also have an outdoor wall, right? Because like currently, units have an outdoor wall, so they don't have any fresh air.
They're gonna need daylighting per, like, bedrooms are supposed to have natural daylighting in all your bedrooms.
Right, which is, I guess, borrowed through the atrium of glass. In September 24th, we could have, you know, hit you upside the head with a skillet, knock some sense into you. That was for you. That was a Southernism.
That was a Southernism.
And she's a club band. And well, I think skillet sounds kind of old school too.
Okay.
So, but we could have knocked some sense into smart size the number of egress components, the number of elevator and stair components, and then the first floor, which is actually the most efficient in terms of reconciling even the stairways and elevators that you do show relative to what you show on the first floor, would also have. For me, this is wanted you to, and it's unfortunately not where I need you to be today, right? At the end of October, because like Ash noted, the structure, and they are in fact ambiguous, not only in plan, but in section. There's no sort of grain of this indicated. There's no notations that talk about the structure that we're looking at. The strategies for HVAC, the zoning plan for the systems, and how this building is heated and cooled. Something that's incumbent on these atrium space, which is why I always said, right, Rasha, right, Alex, at the beginning of at the beginning of October, I kind of freaked out when you guys were proposing atriums because right, a bitch, right? So you got to really like bear down on them, and you got to know your name. You got to know your game.
You end up with all kinds of complications from
Fire and smoke events,
yeah.
right? So yeah, it's not for the faint of heart, right? And so that's why there are specialty architects that just deal with L. And I actually, Rasha, tried to dissuade you from that sort of party. And then the building enclosure, I don't see any wall sections or details. And Ash noted that there's no clear indication of how succeed or don't succeed at achieving the ASHRAE standards. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt that the accessibility, but I see the parking plan down below. I don't know how cars are parked. I've asked you in writing. I've asked Lee to illustrate this on the first floor plan and in the basement plan, but tonight I don't have a basement plan, so I don't see the speed ramp in the basement. I don't know where there's down on bedrock in the basement because I don't see that plan. And then on the ground floor plan, you indicate the speed ramp coming off of John R., which I think is problematic. I talked, I boxed Rasha's ears for, preparing a curb cut off of Alfred Street. I think it's a problem to cut an additional curb cut off of John R., especially, right next to the alley. I think that's problematic. So I just feel like when I look at the criteria of structure, HVAC, and building enclosure, which are really, really hefty bars that you all have to clear for this today, the failure to indicate that stuff here is really problematic for you. So I just need you to hear that. I need you to see that in your own work. And I'm very concerned that you're going to be able to finish the class. So I just need you to sort of think about this conversation tonight, and I think you need to sort of ask yourself what the next step is. You want to talk about this later tonight. If you want to talk about this tomorrow, let me know. I'm unfortunately taking my wife away for a long, I don't want to say romantic, but I am taking her away for a romantic weekend. We're going to Cincinnati. It's her birthday, so I wasn't going to think about you guys for days, but you, Michael, on one of those days, I could do that when I drive down or when I drive back. Okay. Thank you. So let's move on, please. Carmen.
Hi.
Okay, there you are. Carmen, that is the most colorful background you could possibly have imagined.
Yeah.
Did you paint that?
An uncle of mine did. He's very abstract, very Mexican.
Who painted?
He likes Barragan.
Yeah, it's very Barragan. It's very saturated. Okay, Carmen, you have the floor.
All right. So I'm just going to jump to the second page. The second page, we're going to start off with the site plan. So we have just the main streets, Alfred, John R., and I wanted to show how it's laid out and how you can access the alley. If we move on to the third page, so I have it's showing the architectural plans, but it's also showing the egress flow. So we can see that we have retail, which is the blue spaces. The green is the service, which is all the way past like the alley and John R. All of those service areas have access to the alley, but as well, just in case, they can go into the building and then out again more to like the parking space. So I just wanted to show, again, just the egress flow within the first plan. If we move on to page number 4, I'm showing the second and third level. So we have a 2-bedroom unit on the corner. It's Alfred and John R. All the blue areas are 1-bedroom unit. Starting with the corner unit, which is the 2-bedroom, you can either just go left and walk down the stairs, or you can go to the right. And then I have another set of stairs, which is for egress. If we move on to page number 5, so this is my level 4 architectural plans along with egress. Same thing, you go out the door, either you turn right or you turn left, and it's not, I'd have to take a look at the dimension closely. I don't have it blown up, but it's not more than 50 feet, I believe it is. Next slide is number 6, which is my level number 5. With the level number 5, kind of stepping back from the previous page, the corner units, so the 2-bedroom units at the corner and then all the way down to John R., those are, it's a loft unit. So you get the stairs and then the top of the loft. You don't really have access to the hallway, so you would have to always go out through the 4th level. The 5th level is more to like seeing the street views, and then you can put a desk or like an office space or a study or just something above on the loft floor. I do have on Alfred Street the blue units, so they're still, those are the only ones that have access to the 5th floor. And then I have a green roof as well. If we move on to page number 7, so this is my structural floor plan. The first plan, the first floor will be concrete, and then the floors above that is a steel structure. So on the left, I'm showing the concrete, and on the right, I'm showing the steel. All right, so if we move on to page number 8, this is the structural roof plan. And then the structural member sizing, I just put what's on the first floor, the 2nd to 5th, and the roof. Just with some dimensions, I'm sorry. Give me 1 second. I had to catch my breath for a second. Okay. So the first floor, the 2nd to 5th floor, and then the roof floor. Again, just with the pounds, I put the depth and then the spacing as well.
Could you turn your camera back on, Carmen?
Yeah, I think there there was like a glitch to it. Can you see it now?
No, not yet.
I can hear you really well.
Yeah, your audio is fine.
Is that better?
There we go, yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about that. So that was page number 8, again, just the structural member sizing. So moving on to slide number 9. I just wanted to show the assembly of my structural diagram. So underground parking will be concrete, first floor along concrete. Floors 2 to 5, which are my apartment buildings, that will be steel, and then the roof structure will also be steel. And then the diagram to the right is just how it all looks together, put together. I think I still have a little bit of work to do. I want to find out if the loads are correct, but this is what I have for now. If we go on to page number 10, so these are my HVAC systems. Within the HVAC system, I'm showing the first floor, so I'm only showing a first and one apartment. So within the first floor, which is my mechanical plan, I have my supply and my return air ducts. And then I calculated how many BTUs are required for each space within that first floor. And then Ash was very helpful, and he let me know that I need like a flexible fabric duct, so that's what I'll be using to connect those supply airs.
You can have this, of course, but that's not the only option, Carmen. But that's fantastic.
Okay.
That
So
is
that will change it.
fantastic.
Page number 11. So this is my second floor mechanical plan. Going back to the first plan, so right next to the elevator, I'm going to have a shaft that will go all the way up to the second, third, fourth, and fifth floor. And that is where I'll connect my supply and return air ducts. They'll be going through the hallways. And then I just wanted to blow up an image of what I'm planning to do just for a room that's 640 square feet. So again, it's coming from the hallway into the bedroom. And then it's divided into 2 zones, so the L shape, so the top is zone 1, the side will be zone 2. If we move on to plate number 12, I don't know if I remember correctly, but I thought electrical plan, so I just did a quick electrical plan. I read that somewhere. So a quick electrical with recessed lighting. I'm not quite sure if that was required, but I figured out just one room. Page number 13, so I have my elevations. From our previous discussions, I kind of switched gears, so I made not putting too many materials. That was my main goal, along with changing some of my window dimensions. I did remove part of the balconies, but the corner units will have their own balcony, and they're held up by these columns, which we'll see in the 3D image. So I have 2 materials if we move on to page number 14. So my enclosure system, these drawings aren't mine. I did put the link to the ones that aren't mine. I really like this. It was like a wood cladding that is kind of, it's held up to the building. So I thought it was very interesting, and I just put some diagrams of how this cladding system can be held on. So I am thinking wood, but it can also be a wood-like metal cladding system. So that I want to determine that, but I wanted to figure out my elevations first. So if we see on page number 15, I have a section. So with my section, I wanted to show how that wood cladding board would be held up onto the building, so it's not necessarily stuck on the building. I do have a, let me see where it is. It's a fastener. So the fastener will be tied into the structure, and then hopefully the cladding system or the cladding board will go right onto the face. And then to conclude, so my last page is a very preliminary 3D image and my material selections. So we can see that the building, there's a part of the building that has, so it'll be the wood cladding, and the wood cladding will have longer windows. There's 7 by 3 feet. Where it says number 2, I'm thinking wood or, again, a different type of brick. Just to combine some materials. If it's too many materials, I'll just select one and kind of vary with the windows. So these windows are squared. Curtain wall, or a curtain wall where we have the balconies and also on the first floor. And then block structure with that detail that I have over the building. Thank you.
Thanks, Carmen.
Ash, do you want to go ahead and start on this?
Okay. Thank you, Carmen, so much. This is the type of work that I really need to see from everybody today, even if it's not perfect. It's, again, initial, to me, as a lab instructor, that's initial thought of the systems. This is what I exactly needed from every one of you. I love this 3D. It tells me everything, Carmen. It's so sexy, very nice. I like, this is probably what's gonna happen for your basement floor plan or underground parking. But again, that's just a suggestion. I'm not saying change or anything. You can start with your steel from your first floor, and it will be, you know, slightly better in terms of integration of the system. If you convert this first floor, I'm sharing the screen here so that I can point out to whatever I need to mention. Yeah. So again, but nothing wrong with it. But I would love you guys have something like this. It just blows me away. It just tells the whole story in one slide, like Eric's, like Nancy, if I remember very well. So I do have some sizing, not sizing problems here. You should have indicated your girders sizes here. So you're trying probably to educate the audience on
yeah, I
the
didn't
girder size. Over 50. You have to size this for me, Carmen, okay? You forgot the size.
Okay, I just
sizes,
put the L15.
Right? You did the beams, but you forgot the girders. You just wrote girder L over 15. Thank you, but I need to know what's this L over 15 is. So it's just, again, this is just very few quirks. The concept is there. You understand well how the load is transferring, which is awesome. What else? Let me browse very quickly here before Mark tells me. I like the floor plans. You start doing like what, double duplexes here, villas or something?
Correct, yes.
Okay. Nice access to the surface spaces from the alley. Very, very nice. Although it will take a little bit of a hard labor here to put your vertical duct that goes up, but absolutely no problem with it. Let me see. This is sort of a masterpiece here, although we need probably to still revisit it. That's not what's extra, but that's really the model that I would love. Again, I would love and wish everybody to follow. I saw it in Paige presentation today. Very nicely done, although she didn't go the extra mile and distribute even more with more details to the units like you here. You probably need to show here you put this as the return here. I don't understand here why you connect both. You have to distinguish between the supply Carmen here, which takes this X, and return, which takes just one inclined line. That's the vocabulary in the mechanical drawings. So I don't see a return here unless you consider this a return.
Those are the return, yeah.
So yeah, you usually go to the bathroom, but they are not connected to the supply duct. They come to a separate duct right away from the bathroom. This is what we have talked about to shortening the duct. You can have one or two return here over the edges, so you don't have to dig deep or go deep with your return grills into the unit. So you can, it's very small space. You can treat it as one big room, having the return here in your bathroom. If you are generous, you can have a return here above your kitchen for the fumes. You connect it to the return duct, just 3-4 feet to the return duct. That would be wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you for the electrical. I missed these drawings 28 years ago. So that's wonderful. Here, that's my only problem with you, that we may run into code issues here. We have what we call NFPA 285, which is a fire code that prevent using any combustible materials for more than 2 floors. Not for more, it's residential, yes, but it's like we do use, again, the studs and the insulation in our homes here, built tight, insulated, right? No problems at all with thermal bridging or anything. But when you go high, Carmen, with these cladding, the danger intensifies. I understand here that you try to cover your butt, and sorry for the expression, by having treated counter pattern, screwed to studs, centers. Thank you. Yes, code says if you need to use wood in wood cavity, in wall cavity, it has to be treated. That's the code. So you covered yourself here very well. However, I'm still, again, and Mark is, you know, he's the one controlling the design part here. I would go with a metal cladding, try to find a sexy looking metal cladding, try to play with the colors, the module. I posted both lectures on the Blackboard, full of details in terms of wall sections and design as well. There is like one lecture more design oriented, the other lecture is more detail oriented for your wall sections and stuff. Again, it's not bad. I'm not saying change, but considering this Egyptian dictatorship thing, it appears here. If I were you, I would if I'm designing this building, I would refrain from using any wood for a fire safety point of view. Although, again, you cover your butt very well here with the treated wood. But I would, you know, if I'm designing it, I would go anything other than wood. Nothing wrong, but there is an article came about this guy, the building that was burned to death, to the bones in England, because they had this. They did have untreated wood and some fueling, some plastic components that fueled the fire, and it ate the facade in less than 18 hours. And they came praising the United States of applying this NFPA 285. So we just don't want to get into, you know, some tricky stuff. I know that the developer will love you because it's cheaper, but as academic setting, I would, again, rethink about the system. If we go with the code, we go with the law, we go with the book, I'm okay with it, but I'm just telling you, think something else. Last comment here is, I like the 3D, by the way, very nice. This is not a curtain wall. Curtain wall goes 2 or 3 floor high, we call them a storefront.
Storefront.
We call them storefront, not curtain walls. This nice number 3 in your 3D here, that's not a curtain wall. Okay, it's storefront, ribbon glass. So we use what we call storefront sections in aluminum to erect this floor-to-floor height.
And you did send me a presentation on that, so I'll get that changed.
Okay, I'm very disappointed with your wall section. Oh my goodness, that's not.
I needed more work, I know.
No, yeah, it's not good at all. It doesn't show me. Yeah, it does show the structure, but it doesn't show here the enclosure. If you go back to probably Andrew has done it. Start to dig deep page, although it's not perfect, but again, I see this relationship very clear, but I don't see it here at all, Carmen. It's still very, very premature, and that was not my expectation of you. So you ace 2. You have 2 hits today, 1 miss, although you provided some insights here. But this is your weakest point today, okay? Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Ash.
So I actually like the idea of using a system that's kind of already out there. A lot of times in the real world, we don't make up our systems completely, but we'll take parts and components of different systems and see how they can work together when we're looking. You kind of said, like, I pulled this from this location. I mean, that's what we do in practice. We don't make up, new systems on the fly unless it's necessitated by the design, but even then it's usually some composite. So I think that's actually a really nice move. I would like to recommend, you're just over the threshold, I think, for material. We actually ran into this on a project in Detroit with that prefab like metal panel not metal, wood panel. It was like a composite wood and it wasn't non-combustible. I think it was like something like that, and your building goes over that. So I would different material for that, but one material you might want to look at is a tactile panel. Yeah. They have lots of nice textures.
Did you say tackle?
That in the same units, it's in it's like a rain screen system, but they come in like concrete colors and warm colors, have different.
I'm sorry, what is it called again? I need to write it down.
Tactile.
TACTL TILE.
No, I'll send it to you.
All right.
So
thank you. I can't hear.
That's in our office. I like that. I thought it was good that you kind of implemented a system that exists. It conveyed your idea and the material of your building when laying these. I'm going to talk for stairs. They do appear to be you may need a third stair in the middle of your building. Travel distances.
Mm-hmm.
And setting it, I don't use an irregular stair step for your people exiting the building. So that radial stair that you're showing and landing, the typical stair on either side. And I think you have enough room to do all of that and reconfiguring that spot. Those spots.
You understand what critical point? You need to lay out your stairway so that you have a landing at the floor level, right? And that landing, so when you enter the width of the riser, or the springs rather, the springers.
Okay, yeah. I'll get that modified.
At the midpoint, right?
Mm-hmm.
5 or 3. So you have two sets of stringers that are serviced by a landing.
Okay. 2 sets of stringers.
Like you don't want to do Yeah. So no one has talked about fire suppression systems or sprinkler systems.
They did.
Okay.
In
It's another room and another configuration.
Yeah.
And then
Should I be showing those within the plan?
I think that's just it if you had done kind of some preliminary research on what you would need for that in a building like this. Say like, this means this, and this. No one's really talked about rated corridors, which you may or may not need. Sprinkler system you have, that is the thickness, types of your corridor walls, whether they can be wood or if they have to be metal, hollow metal frame, they have to have seals. Programmatics quickly on right side of some of your units, and I didn't know, I can't really tell what that space looks like currently. So for benefit so that you can have a view out of the building. But I don't know, like I just really can't tell enough about that conceptually yet to make a
I need to move on because we're running behind, but I do think that also, Carmen, when have this life safety indicated on the plans, but if you remember, Joshua's, if you remember, there were calculated that showed how the stairways service or accommodate in that fire on the certainly finally on the first floor plan. One rounder, one crew got through or got past you, is you don't have your underground parking plan.
Yes.
So that's not in your.
I realized I didn't put it in when it was too late.
Yeah. Okay. So that's an issue. So maybe
I can send it to you
so
if you would like.
Add it to replace the folder that you uploaded to Google Drive.
Okay. With underground parking, I will do that.
All right.
Yes.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mark,
Thank
for the
you.
catch.
Yeah, no worries.
It gives me an opportunity to deduct a couple points or something to prevent grade inflation.
from the lighting plan and switch.
Yeah, but the lighting plan, right. The lighting plan.
I read somewhere that there was lighting plan required. I got freaked out.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Okay.
Thank you.
Your pay. Okay, good. Thanks. Yeah, I will. Were we close on the spelling?
I was the closest.
That's why. Okay, Lynn, we're ready for you. You can start whenever you're.
Okay, great. Everyone can hear me okay? There's not too much of an echo or anything?
No.
Great. All right, so plate 1 is just a 3D of, I guess, where I'm at today with my structure, and the upcoming slides will go through to explain how I've gotten here and objectives that I have. Plate 2 and plate 3 are pulled over from benchmark 1 just for those new, for our guest credit today on some of my site analysis, key important features, inspiration images, materials, just sort of those brainstorming ideas that I had shown in benchmark 1, just carrying through in further development. Plate 4 as well is from benchmark 1, just going over initial gestures and sort of the pushing and prodding I've done of the plane to arrive at the form that I have. Plate 5, a site plan here, showing that a key thing that I've been big on the ground floor is having entrances for residents both off of Alfred and John R. John R. being the prime is a busy street, but then also all of our transit is coming off from the west, so assuming people are going to come off the bus or the train, or I forget if it's LRT or a rapid bus on this street here, but then that's probably likely the way they're actually going to come in to the building. Loading area and jump ramp is off of the alley down to the south. Plate 6 is a basement parking plan. I have 50 spaces down here, 36 lockers, 12-foot single-way drive aisles. It's been a struggle to get this to work. I'm using the same structural system as Rasha, cast-in-place concrete flat plate slab. I know Ash, you had mentioned that they would probably want to see beams down in the basement, so I've put those in just to show along the columns.
Thank you, Lynn. That's perfect.
Page 7 is the ground floor, looking at programming use. Teal areas of retail on the 2 corners. The purple areas are amenities for the residents, exercise room, community room, dog wash, bikes, all that kind of stuff. The blue being the service area. So the largest blue piece you see to the west is the mechanical room there. So that's where all of our services are going to jump from. Electrical rooms and meter rooms are also held in this sort of baby blue area as well. Next, plate 8 is a second floor plan where we're mostly residential. We do have the laundry room and another community room with a terrace out here. There's a little bit of green roof. Some residential units do have their own private terraces here as well. Structural floor plan again showing column grids all under 30 feet. So we're comfortable, I think, with an 8-inch concrete slab here showing shear walls at all of our openings for stairs, elevators. Again, the mechanical shaft is right next to the elevators there as well. Next, plate 9 is levels 3 and 4. The difference on these floors is where we have the community room and the laundry room. Those are 2 small studio units. Next, plate 10 is looking at an ADA suite and showing how someone in a wheelchair can sort of make their turning radiuses, get around, work comfortably in the bathroom with the shower that they can roll into, clearances for transfer space to put the wheelchair between the toilet and the sink there, so they can maneuver and be comfortable in this space here. So this would be what I hope to be my type A unit. I hope to sort of develop the kitchen a little bit more as well to show that will be compliant for someone with accessibility needs. Plate 11 is HVAC, ground floor and typical residentials, looking at various zones. Independent supply for the 2 retail suites. The dashed line showing the main ducts that will go up to service the residential units above. And then the darker blue line just for the remaining spaces on the ground floor. Next on the right, the typical residential floors, we can see supply and return. Return just going in slightly, and we'll need to bring the supplies further in. Each unit, I think, will have to be controlled by a VAV, so individual units can have control of the comfort level in their own units. Plate 12 is looking at fire safety, showing our 2-hour rating around stairs, elevator shafts, separation of occupancies, storage rooms, janitor closets, things that we need to segregate storage areas, and then separation between all of the individual units. And then a blow up of one of our exit stairs, a 44-inch door. Landings are within the width of our treads to get around here, and showing how that works continuously up and down the building. Plate 13, getting a little bit into elevations and sort of rhythms and patterns for openings and transparent versus opaque surfaces. Yep, working with 5 different sort of opening typologies, depending if we're going onto a balcony, and different requirements within the space. Plate 14 is looking at envelope and wall section. So I'm hoping to use masonry, a thin set porcelain tile or panel system to mitigate thermal bridging with iso slabs and sort of various connection plates and Z-girts to make sure we're not bridging and bringing in too much cold with the cantilevered balconies that I have. And then as well as sort of the ornament and the screening I'm hoping to use on the primary facades to give some privacy and some interest on the public realm that you saw in our first photo. The next couple plates go into elevations as well as a colored rendering of what each elevation of the building is looking like today, color palette, materials, all that kind of stuff. And then we're into, I think, a couple building sections, just looking at vertical relationships between the spaces, beginning on plate 19, coming down. And then the last sort of looking at what the second floor roof area is with our green roof. And sort of the opening and the relationship that we have here for these more interior units and the balconies and the views that these people can still have here, even though they're not facing the street. It still can be an interesting view, and there can be a lot sort of happening in here. It's not just dull and boring or anything like that. And then the last plate is just ending with a final 3D looking north on John R. And that's it.
All right, thank you. Go ahead.
Okay. So when I saw your initial rendering, I thought I was going to be looking at a different type of structural system on the interior, and then further at your details, and I feel that it it might be over designed structurally, because I see this skeleton as a kind of more decorative on the structure of the building, and then I see you did like a typical like structural steel system. Exterior with these like gigantic metal studs, which they look like they could be structural. They're size quite large, so I always feel like we're kind of duplicating the efforts for the like building. I think maybe a little bit better. You are using a very like typical like steel construction for your building. Maybe your exterior wall construction is a lot smaller. It's just those elements, and then I don't know that you kind of need this this like Horton steel screen. So that element in particular is known for kind of corroding everything around it as well when it gets rained on. Of cleaning issues. So things that are kind of conflicting. But again, there's also lots to talk about because you're showing lots. So I don't know if those are things that have been brought up before. One of these 3 things kind of driving some of the other items being a little bit less bulky.
I agree. I think I have the studs oversized on the wall. I think those can be reduced. I definitely need to look into, I guess, depending on how tall they are, what that stud size can really come down to. So I agree they are too large. And Mark did warn me about the Corten steel, and that's still something I'm working to resolve and look into what it can really do and how I can maybe achieve that look through a different material. Perhaps is still something I'm investigating to the end of the term.
Important for the material and texture of your building. I would definitely find a way to work it in. If it's something that's more of just a decorative element on the building, I'm less in favor of that. And because like I don't from the actual building and the program of the building, and then I do have concerns about maintenance queue. And I think.
Sorry, I didn't catch that last bit there.
It's just strange how it's going over these very typical stories. Out, then you would appreciate it. But that's all personal, like just.
Well, there's also
comments.
The maintenance then cleaning the.
Leaking onto the balcony.
Yeah, and
corroding concrete on the
yeah, I mean,
balconies.
yeah, the corroding thing I think is the word I have, insidious, right? It'll sort of just get there and pervade everyone's existence, from the sidewalk, any of the ways attaches to the actual chassis, to balconies, to sashes, and even it's sort of like kudzu, right? It just grows everywhere, and it'll just cover everything in its wake. Like that, you should be to. And then just like cleaning the windows, you know. So if we can manage the Cortens steel, then like just cleaning the window, have that tracery over them. How we do that? You know, you've got to be a small guy like me with a really nimble wrist with the squeegee to get thing glass. And if you have to replace the glass, like if the window breaks because a rock goes through, someone shoots through it, or the seal breaks and there's a maintenance call, then you anticipate may prompt, which is, can these grills actually snap out?
Right.
You know, can they snap out at the window so that I can service the window, so that I can clean it, place it, and so on. So that I love how you're trying to raise the bar of sort of design quality here. Believe me, I really appreciate that. It's kind of like limits you want to like.
I don't want to clean it. There's
Yeah,
like
I mean,
spiderwebs all over it. I can't get
like
to
if you
it.
can think through it, real. I mean, you're a very clear thinker, so I would try to think through even these aesthetic things in your work as you move, as you progress in your career. If you start to think about how buildings are maintained, abilities people cope with them, which is something you learn as you actors with facilities people, you'll be a better designer. You all will be better designers.
I've gotten questions like they didn't care what color it was. They wanted to know how long it was going to be there to clean it.
Yeah.
And that was their 2 requirements. It's crazy.
I guess maybe the other thing, the presentation looks a little bit different tonight than I've seen before. You did what Josh did, which was consolidate, you know, a lot of content for each of the floor plans. And it might behoove you for your final to restore on a sheet, coding, so that if we want to look at that floor plan at like quarter scale or was right, that we can link there, talk about why you talk about whatever these current sheets are talking about, because I think there's so much these unit plans that at this scale.
Do you like the level axon? I'm more distracted by what's not there.
Yeah, maybe that information.
It reads fine. So that's where your floor plans have a lot of information in them.
At a small scale.
At a small scale. And I'd rather see this 3D representation. I'm like, well, where are the strobes on the wall? and like where are the electric plate, like there's more information I'm trying to pull from that image, whereas I would kind of on my own on just seeing your floor plan.
Yeah. Another nit, right? Because that's what you're paying me for.
More information.
Yeah, the site plan, I think is a good start, but there. I think the site plan, to the roof plan. Rasha had a site plan that was the roof plan. And I think that's kind of you know, we always have that choice, right? This is kind of a neat drawing as a floor plan, because I think you're trying to talk about connectivity to the context, relationship to bus stops and all of that stuff. Woodward Avenue, the Q. So my comment is that maybe some grid and the out-to-out dimensions on this floor plan that's really your site plan, and you some of that like great line work that Josh has, that Carmen has, that really looks at this as like if you live home now, you know what I mean? If the developer, right, or if the marketing team was going to take this site, show you how many minutes it takes to walk to the queue line with a line that's really a bunch of dots, and that would show some of the historic properties nearby, maybe some images like your bubble plate. But I think the site plan is kind of limp and needs that layer of quality or ambiance and character of the neighborhood, and draw our attention to how the building fits into the and maybe kind of the kind of graphics that the diagrams just before it, arrows and the renderings. Like, I also like the 3D sort of shadow render of that south elevation, and be something that on that site plan, maybe that's a better place for that to sit. If you think about recomposing the site plan sheet, really strong. They still have more right in terms of entourage of people, cars, trees, street lights, and all of that stuff. But it's really showing how the building on the ground, it's showing how it edges the sky. So there's an awful lot of resolution, and that's really, I guess, the final sort of remark that I would make. There's a tremendous amount of resolution in terms of where you are in this project at this point. So, Ash, do you have anything you want to add?
Very quick, Len. I appreciate the effort so much. You just like bulldozing this project. Few comments here for this one. Just please turn. I'm screen sharing here. Just please turn these dash lines into continuous lines, and you'll be fine that these are your beams. You don't need to size them or anything. Although we have talked about the sizing of concrete beams. But to me, that's a perfect sort of a squarish, very sort of a regular structural system. I have looked also at the floor plans. We have looked at it. I have looked at it before, and it's just very, very nice. The HVAC, I have no comments. Although I would love, as you did here, probably as Carmen did, for one unit, that would be wonderful to show us the supply and return. Just one unit. You don't need to do it for the first floor. It's too much. What else? I share the same comments of Mark here and Lindsay regarding this steel mesh. I would look at this 3D here. This one is a good start if you if you want to not reconsider, but again, the maintenance issue of this steel is an issue here, although it looks beautiful, okay? Don't get me wrong. Looks very beautiful. I think that's a good start here with the color scheme and then the slabs, these the balustrade system here, glass balustrade systems. Another thing to help you with, see here what you did in terms of lining up the seams in your elevations. Okay, kind of compatible with the mullions. This has, so here that's good. This guy, I don't know. This guy, of course, it's off the mullion line or the module line of this. This is good. This one, same thing here. We don't do that here, Lynn. I.e., if we have a metal panel here, this matches with the top of the window. Okay, so we cannot do these knees here with the metal panel systems. These are metal, right? If I assume that.
I was looking at porcelain. I think I had shared some product.
Fine. Either. That's fine. But you need to have a nice, kind of more aligned module with your windows here. We don't do these knees. You know, these corners. It has to line up with your horizontal module here. Hopefully the vertical too, if you will. So I consider this is a good start if you want to replace this system for maintenance issue. Again, here is as well, we cannot do that here, Len. We cannot do this sliver between the window and this horizontal seam here. So these have to line up. Look at the lecture that I posted. It does have it all inside. Some few slides will be off like these, okay? But that's not a good practice with porcelain or curtain wall or metal cladding or wood cladding. They should have a relationship with the windows. Here, that's to me is a very good illustrative wall section. I just have this stud is so thick. Okay. What else? I don't think I love this slide too. I don't think I do have anything else. Thank you.
Okay.
I have a quick comment, if I may, Mark. Okay, on your parking ramp, it looks like you've only got 6'4" clear. I think if you just get rid of that landing there, then you'd have much more clearance for your vehicles to get down in there. And I don't think the landing's required either. Just something to consider. That's it.
Is that what are you looking at that on the section?
Yeah.
No.
I think the line is slightly off, but the dimension is too short right now. It should be around 7 feet, but I can reduce the landing.
I don't think the landing's even necessary, to be honest with you. But if you want it, then that's fine. But the more clearance, the better. If somebody's working for Goya or Train or something, they drive a work van, they're gonna have trouble. You know, they're gonna have ladders on top of it or something, and they'll need like 8 or 9 feet to comfortably get down through there.
You know what, Lynn? Maybe the generator room moves away from column G, column F, your floor, at least at that column 2F. Generator room, not electrical room, to give your cars and the things on top of those cars the things that you need. You know what I'm saying? Good. So I think that's it. Ash, thank you again for the excellent comments. As I mentioned the other night, when Caitlin joined us, and I'm saying it for Lindsay's benefit, this benchmark really needs out the sort of tectonics of the building as it relates to the systems of structure, the systems of HVAC. And that's right wheel. So really good. We're here for both review sessions this week, and so I want to thank you for that.
Thank you, Mark. I'm grading, by the way. I'm grading at the same time, and I'm really unfortunate today to miss your comments because of this damn network problem. I'm really very bothered that I could not hear Lindsay or your comments. I'm really very sad today, but that's not your fault.
Yes.
But
yeah, well,
yeah, it just cuts every. I cannot hear like a complete sentence. Just I have to guess the rest. So I just want to tell everybody that I was grading as well. I'll give you the grading sheets with the rubrics. I'm a little bit of a dictator here in terms of sharing. I don't make anybody. Like Mark is very democratic man. Just share, let people share or grade each other. I don't do that here because I have more strict rules here, and you will see it in the rubrics. Okay, what you have got in this and what you have got in that in terms of the 3 systems that we are studying. You may have some extra points for people who walk the extra mile, like Carmen with electrical, or who else did extra work today? Anyway,
Lynn had the window type sheet.
Okay. So yeah, the vocabulary for the window. That's right. So mine, again, my rubric is probably slightly different than Mark. It's more technical. So I'll give you the structural component, the enclosure component. So it has too many things. I cannot list it, like 5 or 6 in each, with like almost 15, 20 points of grading. Like I look at certain thing. I look at your grid, at your system integration, economy of your system. If you have really very huge spans, this is not economic, right? So I'm just sharing with you these things and to tell you that I have slightly different rubrics than Mark with this module. It's module 2 in the lab. So hopefully you get these grades over the weekend. If you have any question or if you want to argue about it, that's fine. Completely open. I'll give you, just come and make a point. Rasha and Alex knows that. Just make your point. I'm probably gonna end up with a couple points or so. If you 2 or 3 points, that's not bad out of 100. That's 1 grade up. Anyway, so I'd like to thank Mark as well for allowing me to participate in this. I would tell you this, Mark. I enjoy this benchmarks because it allows me to comment on the design, although you are the boss. But and it allows you also to comment on the systems of your long experience. I don't see that very often, and I'm struggling to make it the role model in this studio. I simply I'm telling you this, in order to participate in this review, I put it a priority today. Why? Because I'm grading module 2. I did not attend the review today for the on-ground because simply I'm not grading. So I sit there for comments, but again, I'm not greedy to talk about my time. That the university doesn't pay me for that. But you guys know that I'm already putting 3, 4, 5x the time with you, which I'm so happy. If you make me happy, like some of you today, I can go on and on and on without stop. Okay, helping you out, giving you my time, so I'm not looking for compensation here or overtime or raise. We don't have raises this year, Mark, just to let you know the outcome of the Board of Regents meeting today. Anyway, so the more you make me happy, the more you you push hard, like most of you today, okay? I'm very thrilled, very happy, Mark, with this benchmark and this module. So just keep going, and you will see me at your service. If you need anything, you know how to get a hold of me. And thank you so much.
Great. Ash, I really do appreciate I do appreciate your role and involvement at this benchmark, and your willingness to be available hours and maybe even after or before office hours. So thank you for that. And I think you know, without really sort of getting, I think some of the students are. They still need to wrap the building design up. They still need to work through issues of planning, the solution of the elevations, the sections, even the floor plans. My point is, you know, next Tuesday and next Thursday, everyone, we're actually in debriefing conversations. So I'm not really looking to like talk about new work, although we can, but it's really to talk about where you are and where you need to be, and to give you another sort of top off at the gas tank to propel you, right, so that you can do the work that so that's actually the agenda based on the work plan for next Tuesday. But is that for that still to move towards resolution from some sense of planned confusion or building design confusion, you should take 10 days. You faculty to advise you as you're moving towards that resolution. So don't take weeks off. It's a very important time to work hard to get to the place that you need to be, because the requirements for benchmark the particular, to be able to sort of take all of that in when that program statement for benchmark 3 on December 8th comes out. I didn't say anything about thanking Lindsay for coming in tonight. Lindsay's a veteran of our online critical review. She's done benchmark around the court. Thank you, Lindsay.
You're welcome.
And I will invited her for the December 8th review. The day off to be with us in December, so thanks for that in advance. It's 9 o'clock. Some baseball. So go on.
Wednesday night football.
Bye bye.